Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to a brand new video here today, once again talking about this year's upcoming Formula 1 game, F1 2022, and today specifically, we just did this last week talking about my big hopes for the F1 game coming this year and the future in general as well, but today we're discussing kind of one specific area of the game that I think really needs to, definitely be fixed and just changed and improved into next year's game, and I think this one small improvement when it comes to my team career mode and career mode in general could be, quite massive for just the general user experience, not just me, all of you guys playing, whether it be on, the consoles or PC or whatever, and, into multiple seasons, at this point of the year where we're halfway through the game cycle, the year cycle of the F1 game, it would make a massive difference to how much you may be enjoying playing my team career mode and the F1 game in general, as an offline single player experience at this point, and that is the contract system and the entire driver market as we know it. A fantastic addition to the Formula 1 games, don't get that wrong. Ever since the driver transfers came in F1 2019, we've been asking for those for years, ever since, F1 2012 when I started making videos, we've been talking about having transfers in career mode. They finally snuck it in into 2019, and then, it's been a staple since then. It's been great. And then there's this driver market that's come into play since my team career mode was a thing, and that was another fantastic thing. But there was a bit of a plateau of innovation from 2020 to 2021. We know that, we know it was a transitionary game. We know in terms of the mechanics, they're very much the same in terms of, the way the driver market works, the contract system, the exact same as it was in 2020, which was a bit disappointing because I had this same criticism of the contract system in 2020, and they did nothing to fix it. It wasn't just me, it was pretty much everyone saying, why does it work like this? But the contract system, as you guys probably well know if you've played the game at least for 1 or 2 seasons, for whatever reason, you have to sign your teammate before you get the prize money for the year you just raced in Formula 1. Now, I know obviously in real life, the prize money is from the year behind, so it is kind of lagged like that, but in the game it makes no sense because you have to pre-save for your teammate. In terms of, let's say you want to sign a team that's 15 million, you've only got 12 million right now, you could save 15 million by the end of the season, so you've got to make a choice of either saving for the 15 million teammate, or let's say you're in a championship battle, you might want to spend resources on upgrading HQ for the last, couple of races and, trying to improve the car and whatnot. Now, of course, that's an interesting, balancing act, obviously, that's an interesting choice to have in a career mode, but really when you think about it, it makes less and less sense in terms of, just think about the UI that we see. When you sign your new teammate, you see the end of the season card at the end, and your new teammate's there, and it adds up the stats of your team, and your new teammate just sat there, and his stats are there, but they don't allude to your actual, how your team did that season, so that makes no sense in terms of just a menu style. But just well and truly, I feel like, obviously in real life, teams would have more of a budget already to maybe poach, a new driver for their team, and they wouldn't really have to make that compromise of spending money on the car versus the teammate, because they already have the funds for that and they've already pre-planned financially for a move like that per se. I think it would be more interesting to have the prize money paid out and then you sign a teammate, because then you're gonna get more exciting transfers. And I'm not talking just for the player. I think for the AI, this is maybe a reason why that we don't see as many transfers, because you've got to think that the coders have told us that the AI in the background are doing everything that we're doing as a player. So that means the AI are spending money on spending money on HQ. They're spending resource points. That means they're going to have to make the same decision of saving R&D or saving money per se for the new teammate that they might want to sign. Like, let's say Mercedes kick out Bottas or whatever, and they want to sign Russell in the game currently in F1 2021. They can't can't do that because they've actually probably not got the funds for it because they've spent upgrading on the HQ, and because they're AI, maybe they haven't made that decision of saving up for a better teammate. Obviously, the acclaim level is a big thing of that, but that kind of, segues into the next part is the wider driver market. I think they just need to make that a lot more volatile. I've been saying it for ages. I've said it in my career mode, so it's nothing new that maybe some of you guys have watched on, especially my pre-season episodes. So apologies for that, but it is just a point that has to be stated again. That, in 2019, when they introduced driver transfers, I feel like it was actually a really good level of like volatility, some mad moves being made, and then some, minority people complained that it was too unrealistic, which I don't get. If you look at the driver market in real life, obviously the last couple of years have been a bit more exciting, but generally speaking, the F1 driver market is actually quite dull in comparison to other sports out there. So the game, I don't want that same dullness in the game. Now, as I said, in real life, the last couple of years actually have been pretty damn decent. We have some interesting transfers. But up till then, a large portion of the 2010 era, the transfers were very, very dull. And the same from before then as well. And, in the game, I don't want that. I want exciting, bonkers transfers. I want to see Verstappen and Hamilton be teammates. I want to see, Vettel go to, some other random top team, whatever like that. Obviously, I get, with the older drivers, maybe they'll retire or they won't move about as much. But I want to see the youngsters come through. I want basically, if you play 10 years of career mode, I want to see some of the F2 drivers and maybe the starting younger drivers, like, you've got like maybe, like Lando or Yuki, for example, at the start, who are already F1 drivers, established F1 drivers. By the end of the 10 years, I want to see all those guys and some F2 drivers in top teams, whatever the top teams are at that point of the career mode. And I want to see the older drivers not even in the market anymore. They're retired by now. I don't know why, for example, in my career mode, Hamilton is still not retired. It took a couple of seasons for Raikkonen to retire and Sebastian Vettel as well to retire. Obviously, it's nice to see them in the game for at least a season or two, but then you think they started retiring, and the same for Lewis as well. And then even some of the other drivers as well, Alonso in my career mode, took a while to retire as well, surprising. Now, obviously, players who are fans of these drivers may like to play with them and see them in the career mode, but of course, once you get to later seasons, I don't see why, it needs to be so dull, basically. And yeah, so the minority complained in 2019, and it got patched, and they tweaked it to make it more boring. And ever since then, it's been very dull, especially in my team. In driver career mode, I think it's a little bit different because AI, determine a lot of it, and you just can move to a different team. But because you're an extra team on the grid, you've got those extra 2 slots, and one of them's taken by you, so there's an extra slot. Basically any driver transfer move that happens in my team, it's kind of a domino effect of what you do. So unless you sign a top driver and make a top seat have an opening, you're not going to see much difference. I've been told recently in comments that maybe adjusting the sliders, the career mode settings, to have the team acclaim high and the driver acclaim low means that the drivers aren't equaling their team's acclaim and goals, and that might make it more volatile. Now, that's interesting. I've not tried it yet, so I'm curious to see how it progresses now for my career mode in the next season or whatever. But I don't think you shouldn't need career mode settings to make the driver market interesting. Also, another idea I'm going to finally float in this video that could be a game changer. So this is not even a tweak. This is a massive change, but it's something that kind of FIFA has, I believe. So in FIFA career mode, you can be a player, you can be a manager, or you can be a player manager. So you can play, the player is like almost the driver career mode. Just, you're just the driver. The manager one, obviously, we don't have a manager game mode in F1. The manager game mode is sort of my team, but you're also a player. So that's kind of like player manager, but there's that third mode in FIFA that bridges the gap between those two modes. Now, what I'm alluding to is, could we get a mode where we bridge the gap, or a way to interlink driver career mode and my team career mode? So what I mean by that is maybe after 4 seasons, could there be a cool mechanic, a UI, a menu of you're able to sell your team to a different fake brand or whatever, and then you can get signed, or you can go out and get signed by an official Formula 1 team, but your my team still stays in the game, depending on who you sold it to. So let's say, in my case, Aarava Archer Racing, I sell it to one of the fake sponsors, Unite or whatever, and so when I leave and I decide to get signed signed by, I don't know, like Red Bull or something, and I get snapped up by Red Bull alongside Verstappen, I can then be in the Red Bull overalls. My team career mode menu switches to the driver career mode. So the management stuff, the HQ, they're locked off. That's Red Bull's doing. They're doing it for me. And I'm just playing a driver career mode at that point alongside Verstappen. I can, ask for, I can do the R&D stuff, but the management stuff, the pop-up events in the HQ facilities, the activity timeline, whatever, not there. I'm just a driver now with R&D, like a normal career mode, like we've had for years in F1. But the difference is maybe you still have your 11th team on the grid, but it's now called Unite Racing because the sponsor I sold it to owns the team now. And the AI do their own R&D, the AI do their own HQ facilities and sign drivers, as AI teams when you're playing as your My Team team. Now this 11th team on the grid that used to be your team is now an AI team, and they do the same thing. They sign 2 AI drivers now, not just 1, and they do their own, they carry on your HQ facilities, they carry on your R&D just as AI. If the AI at the moment, the official F1 teams, if they truly do this in the background, I don't think it's a massive step to be able to switch, your custom team, switch it from your control to AI control. I think there surely is like a good link there, clearly, if the official F1 teams do that anyway in the game. And then how cool is that? You can have the experience of being in a different looking chassis car, different environment. You're not in charge of the team, so you might get told what to do. You don't have full control of the direction of the team, and you get that difference. And it's exciting because you're almost, you're racing what used to be your team. And even though it's maybe called something else, maybe they have the same livery still or something like that, or there's, you just know, though. You just know by where they are on the R&D chart and they're racing. You're like, I built that, but now I'm racing them. It's so weird. There's that weird dynamic, and it's almost like, you jump ship, and it's kind of almost like a civil war in a way, in a sense. But, and that's just a kind of out there idea that I've thought of, kind of off the back of just addressing the first and foremost thing, which is I think they need to fix and change, one, the contract system with your teammates and even yourself, and how it works with the payment of the prize money, and then 2, the general driver market. I think it's maybe not a lot to make. I've made a whole video on it. It's such a small part of the game, and there's a lot of bigger things, that are bigger ideas that I'm sure you guys and I've had in the previous video with you last week. But really, I hope you'd agree with me. This small change of the contracts and the driver market would just make it so much more exciting. It would mean I don't have to do something like where, for my season 5, I've spent a whole season just bodge jobbing and, on purpose signing someone to take them away to try and make an interesting driver transfer for the actual season I present to you guys on YouTube. It's the same way for you guys. If you did that yourself, you don't have to do that anymore. And from season to season, I've seen plenty of you guys tweet me about, how dull your driver transfer market has been from season to season My Team. So I think it's something that would, it's a small thing, but would massively change it. And then you've got that other kind of third idea, which I think is a really nice thing. I think that would really add to the dynamics of both career modes, because you could swap maybe from driver to My Team. Like, you could start off in like McLaren and you think, oh, I fancy just making my own team now and fighting to the top. So you switch over to My Team. You get like a news article, 11th team joins the grid, and so-and-so has jumped from McLaren, that's you, has jumped from McLaren to make this team, and you swap over to My Team and you get the menu again for the HQ. I think that's quite a cool idea. I think it's a unique concept, I think, in terms of merging the two. And like I said, for the reasons I gave, I don't think it's too far removed. I think the mechanics already there in the game that it could work, really. You just need to find a way of, just interlinking and swapping the two kind of menu systems and whatnot. But yeah, that's been kind of my, little rant and kind of discussion and opinion about this part of the game. It's a part that I'm very passionate of agreeing that this would make a huge difference to everyone's experience, especially at this point in the game where you're like seasons into the career mode. But let me know what you guys make of that, of course, and your opinions on all 3 of those things: the contract system, the driver market, and then maybe that idea I had as well. If you did enjoy the video and agreed with those points, then hit that like button. If you are new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.